In this video, we will cover the answers for the team member evaluation practice for the hypothetical team member, Robin Brown. You should have a copy of the sheet that provides a list of behaviors for a team member named Robin Brown. Imagine that you are working with Robin and you view these various behaviors. What you will need to do is assign each behavior to one of the 5 CATME teamwork dimensions under the column titled Category Assignment. Then, rate each behavior in the column titled Rating. Keep in mind, when we are evaluating specific behaviors, we are only interested in considering whether they are high, medium, or low-level performance. That is, giving them ratings of 5, 3, or 1. When we provide ratings for the 5 CATME teamwork dimensions, which are broader categories, then we can combine different levels of specific behavior performance to get ratings of 2 or 4. Therefore, all values put in the rating column should be either a 5, 3, or a 1 based on Robin's performance on the teamwork rating scale. You can see on the sheet that we have already completed an example item for you. The behavior sets goals and checkpoints to help the team falls under the dimension of keeping the team on track. So we've labeled this behavior with the capital letter K under the category assignment column. This behavior also reflects a medium level of performance and has been rated as a score of 3 in the rating column. You will do the same process for the remaining behaviors. Finally, you will need to provide an overall rating for each of the dimensions. This is the bottom half of the rating form. Again, you can use the teamwork rating scale to help you with this process. Now, take some time to read over the behavior descriptions for Robin and decide how you would categorize each behavior into one of the 5 CATME teamwork dimensions, as well as if that behavior would reflect a high, medium, or low level of performance. Record your answers by filling out the rating sheet. Feel free to pause the video now to complete the activity, as we will next walk through the answers. We will begin by reviewing the individual behaviors. For the first behavior, routinely late for meetings, the correct CATME dimension that this behavior falls under would be C for contributing to the team's work, and would deserve a score of 1 because it reflects a low level of performance. For the next behavior, respects other team members' opinions, represents the dimension of interacting with teammates, which is indicated by the letter I. This would reflect medium performance and should receive a score of 3. Next is the behavior relies on extensive computer skills to complete team assignments. This most closely falls under the dimension of having relevant knowledge, skills, and abilities represented with the letter H, and represents high performance for a score of 5. The behavior for question 4 does not mention problems right away, but later comments about having noticed those issues. This represents the dimension of K for keeping the team on track, and would reflect a low performance score of 1. Behavior 5 demonstrates outstanding mathematics skills. The dimension for this behavior is also having relevant knowledge, skills, and abilities, and it is an indicator of high performance in this dimension. The next behavior rarely checks on progress of other team members. The dimension that we are talking about here is keeping the team on track, and reflects low performance. Number 7 finishes work as quickly as possible without regard for whether it is done correctly, which falls under the dimension expecting quality, and is represented by the letter E. This would be a low level of performance or a score of 1. We then will take a look at the behavior of make statements indicating a greater concern for just getting done rather than ensuring a quality job. The CATME dimension that this behavior represents is expecting quality, and would receive a score of 1 for low performance. The second to last behavior on the list is listens to everyone. This behavior represents the interacting with teammates dimension at a medium level of performance. And the final behavior completes the task needed, which would represent C for contributing to the team's work, and we would categorize this as a medium performance for a score of 3. Now that we have categorized each of Robin's behaviors into one of the 5 dimensions of CATME, and rated them based on the level of performance exhibited, we can find Robin's overall ratings for each dimension. For the first dimension, we gave Robin scores of 1 and 3 for her 2 behaviors that fell under the dimension of contributing to the team's work. We can average these scores for a final score of this dimension of 2, since Robin's contribution would fall somewhere between a low and medium level of performance. If the score that you came up with is significantly higher or lower than a 2, be sure to pay careful attention to the behaviors that are specific to a particular dimension. We don't want to consider behaviors that fall outside the dimension when creating our final ratings for each dimension. How about the next dimension, interacting with teammates? We can see that both behaviors received a 3, therefore we would rate it as a score of 3. Next is keeping the team on track, for which we rated both behaviors a score of 1. We would then rate this dimension as a 1, meaning that Robin needs improvements with monitoring the team's progress and giving feedback. The dimension of expecting quality would also receive a rating of 1, since both behaviors for that category were rated as 1s. Finally, the two behaviors for having relevant knowledge, skills, and abilities reflected high performance, so we would give this dimension a final score of 5. Thank you for watching. Please fill out the survey in the description box below to let us know how we're doing, and like this video if it was helpful. If you have any further questions, please reach out to support@catme.org.